I think that this is an excellent lens. Well, hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Emmett and professionally I'm a software developer, but in my spare time I love making videos about landscape photography and related topics here on YouTube. Today I am out here. It's a little bit of a chilly day, chilly spring morning here, and I'm gonna try to take some spring photos. Now the sky, as you can see, is very interesting today. The light is really boring, and so normally for landscape photography I would be really dissatisfied with the light today, and I'm honestly having a little trouble not being dissatisfied with it. However, I think for the photos that I was hoping to take, it actually will be fine, because what I'm thinking to do today is try to take some macro style photos of the very small signs of spring. And so there's a lot of flowering trees behind me here, trees that are starting to get their first leaves, some little flowers, things like that. And so I'm just going to take a few minutes and kind of walk around and see what kinds of really close-up photos of little flowers and things that I can get. So here's a real good example right here of something that I'm interested in photographing. This is, I think, a redbud tree, and there's just these fairly small, beautiful purple flowers on here. And so I think that I will pull out my stuff and try to take some photos of these. I'll just show you guys the lens that I'm going to be using today. So I'm going to use probably this 40mm f2 lens, and then I'm going to be putting a macro adapter on the end of that. Now, I don't do a lot of macro photography, and so for me it's not really worth the extra money to buy a dedicated macro lens. Those are very good but very, very expensive lenses. But this basically just sits in front of my regular lens, screws onto the filter thread, and it's essentially just a magnifying glass going on the front of the lens. Makes it so that it can focus much closer than it normally would be able to, and blows everything up really big for me. So that is the setup for today. With that, the depth of field gets very, very small, and so I'm using a tighter aperture to combat that, because I don't want it so small that the whole tiny flower is in focus. If you think about when you're looking through a magnifying glass, that portion that's in focus is really small. You have to move the magnifying glass in and out a lot, and that's how it is with this on the camera as well. It's just like the camera is looking through a magnifying glass. So I've set the aperture in the aperture priority mode to 7.1. I think that's going to work out pretty well. Might make some minor adjustments to it, but this is an f2 lens. We're not using that today. Definitely wanting tighter on that. And as I was just trying to shoot some pictures here, noticed the wind is blowing, and so that's moving the branches around, and my hand is shaking a little bit, and that sort of thing. And then so what I'll do is just hold on to the branches as well, so the wind can't shake it around quite as much, and then also I can try to wait for a calm moment in the breeze. And what I've actually been experimenting with is incorporating my fingers into the shot, because I think that gives it a little bit more scale for how small the flowers are. And so it's a different thing that I don't normally do, but I think I might kind of like it, so I'm experimenting a little bit with that. And then you can't really see on that camera, I'm sure, but this tree is just starting to get some little leaves on it, and so if I'll show you those on the other camera. It is starting to get just some really little leaves on it here too. And so I'll try to get some photos of those probably as well. Because that's really the sort of thing that I'm interested in, is these first signs of spring today. And because of the motion, I'm going to bump the autofocus into the continuous focus mode as well, so that until I hit the shutter, it's going to try to refocus as much as it can too, just to help me out a little bit more. This is probably a strange camera angle, but another thing I'm thinking of taking some pictures of is these little flowers here that are on the ground. And so I think I'm going to try to shoot some pictures of those. The flowers and the grass on the ground usually come back before anything else in the spring. The big trees still don't have any leaves on them, but the grass has been green and growing for quite a while now. So I'm just going to try to shoot a few little pictures of that here and see what I can do with that as well. Alright, I think I'll walk on around this park here and see what else I can find. Now, this is not, a crazy huge national park or anything like that. It's just a little city park. And so I think it just goes to show what you can find to photograph in everyday areas. You don't have to find anything crazy. You don't have to travel necessarily. Obviously, those things are great and fun, but they're not necessary for getting, good photos or having a good time. So there's a tree over here with some white flowers I'm going to take a look at. Now, the tricky thing about this one is going to be that the flowers are all pretty high, so I'm going to have to pull these branches down a little bit. They're just up above my head, so I'm going to pull them down, I think, and see if I can kind of hold on to the branch and get a couple photos of these flowers. Okay, so here's some photos that I managed to get of that. There's a lot of wind blowing this around, and so I had a hard time, and you can tell also the harsh light was really starting to hurt me on these a little bit, especially because I couldn't just pick any flower. I had to pick some that I could work with in the wind as well. And once again, there's some flowers here on the ground that I think I'm going to take a look at. And I was shaking a huge amount in the wind, but I have my shutter speed set at 1,000 now, so I think it'll be alright anyway. I'm trying to just use my shadow a little bit to help with the light for some of these little flowers on the ground here. But the wind is really starting to be a problem too. especially with some of these much more delicate flowers. Just the tiniest bit of a breeze will really throw them way off. Alright guys, well that is all for today's video. I'm definitely not normally a macro photographer, and so this all felt very different to me, but I wanted to try to get some photos of these really small signs of spring that we're starting to have, and hopefully soon it will be spring, summer in full force. We'll have leaves on the trees and everything, and then I can get back to kind of regular photography. But you know, right now there's these really small things in nature that you kind of see with your eyes, but they're a little trickier to photograph, and so I wanted to try to get some photos of them. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this little bit different of a video today, and hopefully I will be back soon with more regularly scheduled programming. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to hit the like button on your way out and to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss more videos that I am really excited to share with you guys in the future. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.